Hello everyone, Ziausan this side. So today hand we are dealing with a topic called as digestion and absorption in the gastrointestinal tract or GI tract. So let's get started. Now, digestion is a breakdown of large, complex, insoluble organic molecule into small, simple, soluble molecules. Okay? So let's get started. Here, first of all, we'll be dealing with the digestion in mouth. Okay? Now, here the tongue helps in tasting the food, mixes it with saliva. Now, what does the saliva means? So basically, saliva is the secretion of salivary glands. There are basically three salivary glands in the mouth. They are called as the parotid gland, then we have the submaxillary gland and sublingual gland. Okay, sublingual gland. So there are three types of glands called as salivary glands, parotid gland, submaxillary gland, and the sublingual gland. Okay, deal with. Now here the saliva is continuously released and secreted into the buccal cavity by the salivary gland under the influence of autonomic nervous system. Under the influence of autonomic nervous system. Okay, deal with. Now, the mucus in the saliva helps in lubricating and adhering the masticated food particle into bolus, or rather we call it as a mechanical churning of the food. And the spherical food structure will be called as here bolus. Okay. Now, the bolus will be conveyed into the pharynx, and from pharynx it will be taken to the esophagus by swallowing or deglutition. The scientific term for the swallowing is deglutition. Okay. Now, the saliva contains 99% of water along with potassium and bicarbonate ions. Okay. It contains 99% water along with potassium and the bicarbonate ions. And it contains a carbohydrate splitting enzyme as well called as salivary amylase. Called as salivary amylase. This salivary amylase has one another name called as ptyalin. Called as ptyalin. Please do remember, if you are preparing for a competitive exam, do remember one thing, that the salivary amylase has another name called as ptyalin. Okay. So here, what is the function of the salivary amylase? So let's check it out here. Here we are having starch, and with the action of the salivary amylase in the pH 6.8, here we are having maltose. So the starch has been broken down into a disaccharide called as maltose, and this maltose is made up of none other than glucose and glucose. It's made up of glucose and the glucose. So deal with the case as well. Okay. Now, so this was all about the digestion in the mouth. Now dealing the digestion by the stomach. Here, what happens here in the stomach? So here, the bolus of the food remains in the stomach for 3 to 4 hours and gradually converted into semi-fluid mixture called as chyme. Here, so the semi-fluid mixture, which is also called as semi-digested food material, called as chyme. And here we have an special enzyme called as proenzyme. First it will be proenzyme, which is the inactivated form called as pepsinogen. Called as pepsinogen. Okay. Here, on exposure to the hydrochloric acid, the pepsinogen will be converted into pepsin. I can write it down here. Pepsinogen. Here I am having pepsinogen, which is getting converted into pepsin. Okay. So the pepsinogen is getting converted into pepsin with the action of HCl. With the action of HCl. So deal with the case. Now, the mucus and the bicarbonate. Here, so the pepsinogen, here the function of the pepsinogen will be, the pepsin will be converting the protein into the proteose and peptones. Again, what is the function of the pepsin? So pepsin is responsible for breakdown of the protein into proteoses and the peptones. Okay, Hopefully, like you'll be asking what is the difference between the proteose and the peptones as well. So basically, the proteoses are the proteoses are saturated with the ammonium sulfate, whereas the peptones will not saturated with the ammonium sulfate at all. Or rather, if I'll be going for like partially digested proteins will be called as peptones, or what we call as the peptides. Okay, deal with. Now, here the mucus and the bicarbonates do play an important role in the lubrication and the protection of mucosal epithelium. The mucus and the bicarbonates are playing an important role in the lubrication and the protection of mucosal epithelium. Do remember here, like the bicarbonate is there, what we call as the HCO3 minus. This HCO3 minus is responsible for it is responsible for reducing the acidity as well. For reducing the acidity as well. Do remember the case. Okay. Now another enzyme is coming here called as renin. Renin, it is proteolytic enzyme found in the gastric juice of infant, which helps in the digestion of milk protein. Here, like the renin is properly something like this. Renin. Okay. So this renin is responsible for the digestion of milk proteins. This is responsible for the digestion of milk proteins. Now, dealing with the digestion by intestine. Okay, dealing with the digestion by intestine. Now, here basically the trypsin and the chymotrypsin will be coming. So the first one will be the trypsin, and the inactivated form of the trypsin will be trypsinogen. The inactivated form of the trypsin will be trypsinogen, and it is activated by a special enzyme called as enterokinase. It is activated by enterokinase, which is secreted by the intestinal mucosa. Which means like it has been secreted from the intestine itself, whereas the trypsinogen has came from the pancreatic secretion. Now, so if the trypsinogen is getting converted into the active form, the new name of this will be trypsin. Okay, which is responsible for the activation of the chymotrypsinogen into chymotrypsin. Okay, deal with. Now, the proteins, proteases, and the peptones in the semi-digested food material, which is called as chyme, have reached in the intestine, and now they will be converted into the dipeptides. Now they will be converted into dipeptides. Just check it out here. Protein, peptones, and the proteases, all of them are getting converted into the dipeptides along with the function of the trypsin, the chymotrypsin, and one other enzyme called as carboxypeptidase. Called as carboxypeptidase. Please do remember one thing, that the dipeptides are something. This is one amino acid, this is another amino acid, this is another amino acid. So these two bonds will be combinedly called as dipeptide. Okay, deal with. Now, what is the function of bile here? So bile is responsible for the emulsification of fat. Now, what does the emulsification means? Which means the breakdown of fat into small micelles, spherical bodies, which are called as small micelles. Bile is also responsible for the activation of lipase. Please do remember this. If you are preparing a competitive examination, please do remember that the bile is responsible for the activation of one of the most important enzyme called as lipase, responsible for the breakdown of lipid. So the fats are broken down by lipase with the help of bile into di and the monoglycerides. Hopefully you already know that here, like the lipids are triglycerides, and they are broken down with the help of lipase and the bile into the diglycerides and eventually into the monoglycerides. You can check it out here. Correct? Like the fats are getting broken down into diglycerides first, then the monoglyceride. This fat is itself is the triglyceride. This fat itself is the triglyceride. Check it out. Okay, along like so here the enzyme was lipase. Again here the same enzyme is functioning. If this is lipase, this will be lipase as well. Okay, now dealing with the carbohydrates. So basically carbohydrate in the chyme are hydrolyzed by the pancreatic amylase into disaccharide. Okay, so the carbohydrate will be broken down into disaccharides here. And do remember one thing, that there are two types of the amylase. The first amylase was the salivary amylase, whereas the second type of the amylase is pancreatic amylase. Okay, now so here you can check it out. The polysaccharides, or rather like if I'll be directly going for, this is none other than the starch. The polysaccharide or the starch has been converted into the disaccharide with the action of amylase. The action of amylase. Deal with the case. Now the other one is coming named as nuclease. So here nuclease is the pancreatic juice which is acting on the nucleic acid to form the nucleotide and the nucleoside, which is acting on the nucleic acid to form the nucleotide and eventually removing the phosphate from the nucleotide and making it as nucleoside. You can just check it out here that the nucleic acid has been converted into nucleotide with the help of nuclease enzyme, and then the nucleotide will be converted into nucleoside. Okay, deal with. Now the enzyme in the succus entericus. The enzyme in the succus entericus acts on the end product to form the respective simple absorbable form. The intestinal juice is called as succus entericus. Okay, do remember that the intestinal juice is called as succus entericus. So here, okay, here we have another reactions as well, which means like the first we have gone for the formation of the dipeptide. So here like the dipeptide is getting converted into amino acid with the help of an special enzyme called as dipeptidase. If you have to break down maltose, you have to use the enzyme called as maltase, which will be giving you eventually one molecule of glucose and the other molecule of glucose. If you are breaking down lactose, you have to use the enzyme called as lactase, which is giving you glucose plus galactose. Okay, deal with. And if you are breaking down sucrose, you have to deal with the sucrase, and the sucrase will be giving you glucose and fructose. Okay, now at the end here, like the nucleotides again are coming, which have been converted into nucleoside with the action of the nucleosidase, and then the nucleoside will be converted into the sugar and the nitrogenous bases with the help of an enzyme called as nucleosidase. Okay, deal with the case. This is sugar and the nitrogenous base, the ribose sugar and the nitrogenous base. And at the last we are having di and the monoglycerides, which are getting converted into the fatty acids and glycerol with the help of the enzyme called as lipase. If the reacting molecule was the diglyceride, the lipase will be giving two fatty acid and one glycerol molecule. And if the reacting molecule was the reactant was the monoglyceride, which means single glyceride, it will be giving one fatty acid and one glycerol molecule. Okay, deal with. Now the neural control of digestion. The neural control of digestion. So here the gastrointestinal tract, which is innervated by the intrinsic nerves as well and extrinsic nerves as well. Now what does this intrinsic and extrinsic means? So basically whatever the nerves which has been embedded within the gut, from the esophagus to the anus, are called as intrinsic nerves. Okay, deal with. And whatever the nerves which are coming out, they are called as extrinsic nerve. Okay, deal with. Now here, so the intrinsic nerves are controlling the gastrointestinal functions like the secretion, whereas the extrinsic nerves which can modify the activity of the intrinsic neural system. So deal with the case. Here the sight, smell and the presence of food in the gastrointestinal tract is acting as an stimuli for the secretion of saliva. Okay, deal with. And the most important nerve which is responsible for this is none other than vagus. Yes, the 10th cranial nerve. It is called as vagus here. Okay, so deal with the case. Now here, okay, so this is a complete digestion. Here in the structure, you like diagram, you can deal with. Here like the saliva is having the pH 6.5 to 7.5, which is almost near to the equilibrium, or rather what we call as near to the neutral pH, and the food remains in the mouth for almost up to 1 minute. Whatever like the mechanical churning and the salivary amylase will be acting, it will be having only one single minute's time, and the 30% digestion of the starch does takes place in the mouth itself or by the action of the salivary amylase. Then we are dealing with the upper stomach, that is called as a fundic. Okay, the food remains in the fundus for 30 to 60 minutes and the pH for the fundic stomach is 4 to 6.5. Then in the lower stomach, we do know that the lower stomach includes cardiac stomach, the body, the central body of the stomach, and the pyloric stomach. And the food remains in the lower stomach for let's say 1 to 3 hours, and the pH is 1.5 to 4 pH. Okay, deal with. Now the semi-digested food will be entering into the duodenum, or rather, like the semi-digested food, which is called as chyme, is entering in the small intestine's first portion called as duodenum, the C-shaped portion, which is having the pH from 2.7 to 4, and ultimately the food will be remaining here for 30 to 60 minutes. Okay. Now the second portion of the small intestine, like the jejunum and the ileum, the third portion, combinedly they will be in the small intestine itself. The pH of the jejunum is 4 to 7, where the pH of the ileum is 7 to 8, and the food remains in the small intestine for let's say 1 to 5 hours. And then the undigested food material will be entering in the large intestine, which is having the pH 4 to 7, and ultimately here you will be having like the food for 10 hours to several days, which means like the undigested food which has to be excreted out of the body. Okay, deal with. Now here this was all about the digestion. Now we are dealing with the absorption of the digested food. So here only some drugs are absorbed, only some now we are dealing with the absorption of the digested food. Okay, so here only some drugs are absorbed in the mucosal lining of the sublingual area. Okay, water, alcohol, some drugs and the sugar are absorbed in the stomach. Specifically only water is absorbed in the stomach, and a little amount of the alcohol, drugs and the sugar are absorbed. And specifically in the large intestine, the absorption of the sodium chloride and the vitamins, specifically vitamin K, vitamin B12, we call it as cobalamin, thiamine and the riboflavin, are produced by the intestinal bacteria, by the probacteria, the lactobacillus acidophilus, or what we call as lab, or what we call as lab. They are absorbed here in the large intestine. Okay, now one studying solidification of indigestible matter also occurs in the large intestine due to the withdrawal of water. So which means water absorption takes place in the large intestine as well. Here the simple diffusion helps in the passage of alcohol, fatty acid, monoglycerides, cholesterol and the fat soluble substances. Okay, deal with. Now the osmosis is involved in the passage of water from the lumen to the epithelial lining. Now what does this osmosis means? So basically it is the spontaneous flow of solvent molecule from, or rather here it will be water, the solvent molecule from higher concentration to the lower concentration through semi permeable membrane. Okay, deal with. Now the fructose and few amino acids, are absorbed through the facilitated diffusion. The fructose and few amino acids are absorbed through facilitated diffusion, and sodium is main ion absorbed actively. This all is like taking place in the small intestine. Sodium is main ion absorbed actively. Others are involved in the active transport are calcium, iron, potassium and magnesium. Deal with the case. Now the co-transport occurs in the case of glucose and most amino acids. Glucose and most amino acid, and most of the absorbed material are passed into the paracellular spaces. So deal with the co-transport, which means like two ions are, or two molecules are getting transported at the same time. Glucose and majority of the amino acid are following the co-transport method. Now most monoglycerides and fatty acids are converted into triglyceride along with the cholesterol, the phospholipids and some proteins from chloromicrons inside the Golgi apparatus. And this Chylomicrons are passed into lymph vessel or the central lacteals. The lymph vessel, the main large lymph vessel is called as lacteal. Okay, deal with the case. So this was all about the digestion and the absorption in the gastrointestinal tract, or what we call as the GI tract. Hopefully this lecture has been beneficial for you guys. Thank you very much for your so much support. Thank you.